I came up with a saying that says, it is the bad days that build our character, and it is the good days that shows us why to never give up. The reasoning behind that saying is because it is our bad days that ultimately shapes us into who we are. Ultimately, that shapes us into who we become. If it wasn't for our bad days, our hardships, our challenges, our setbacks, the things that tested our faith, that tested us, our character, we wouldn't be who we are. And sometimes it takes something really hard and challenging to have us heed a different direction that we wouldn't have gone to otherwise. Meaning, every single thing that has ever happened within your life, within our life, has shaped us into who we are. It points us and has us direct us into a direction we wouldn't have gone otherwise, which ultimately gets us to where we need to go, where we need to be, right where we are meant to be in that moment. I want to mention too that there are going to be experiences, that are going to happen that is really hard to overcome, or to really understand, or to really find a meaning within that experience. I can only speak on my own personal experience, and hopefully by me sharing my experience and by me talking about my experience, in hopes that it can help someone who shares a similar experience or can relate to some degree. Again, this video, unfortunately, I cannot bring value to just about everyone, right? What I am trying to say here, and I hope I can get across, is that it is our bad times helps us get to where we are going. It is our bad times that helps us get us to where we need to go. It is our bad times that helps us get to where we are, right where we need to be, surrounded by the people that we need to be with. It is the good times, the bad times, and the ugly times that ultimately shapes us into who we are and who we become. The only thing that separates us from who we are and who we become is the inspiration that we take away from yesterday's experiences. Utilizing yesterday's inspiration into our today, which ultimately creates new teachings, new lessons, which shapes our future tomorrow, which then brings about change. For me, I simply just know that everything is temporary. Every single thing that I may be going through today, I know it is going to pass. The only thing that separates me from where I am to where it is that I am not is simply just time. I know that it starts to become, when I look through the lens of time, it starts to become a matter of when am I going to get through this rather than if I'm going to get through this. And when it starts to become, when I look through the lens of life like that, whenever I am going through something hard, for me, I like to ask myself questions like this. Again, this is just for me. This is not, when it comes to the external world, that becomes a whole different topic. But when it comes to me, I like to kind of take a step back in a sense and ask myself, what is this situation trying to teach me? What is this situation trying to show me? What is this situation trying to show me that I am not seeing? I like to seek, I came up with a saying that says, seek the purpose in life's happenings. For me, from what I learned through my own reflection of my own past experiences, every single thing that I have ever gone through has showed me and taught me something that I wouldn't have known otherwise. Every single thing that has ever happened with my past, I have been able to not only reflect from those past experiences, but I have been able to utilize those teachings into my current struggles, whatever it is that I may be going through. If I'm going through something with my respiratory, as I am making this video, my respiratory isn't the greatest. By the time this video uploads, I'm sure it will be doing a lot better. but my respiratory isn't the greatest. From my past experiences, it showed me how to handle myself when I'm not able to breathe like I used to. When I am under restriction because of my respiratory, because of my past experience, I now know how to kind of keep myself calm. I now have the knowledge, in a sense, or not really the knowledge, but the experience to utilize from my past experience into my present to help me say, okay, Vic, I know you're struggling breathing. But come on, just focus on your breath. Don't overthink the situation, like you're okay. And then I have to kind of talk myself to become calm. That's just one experience of many. Another experience is whenever I'm undergoing, my videos are not scripted. Whenever I'm working on my website, for example, or my disability, website is not a great example. Whenever I'm working on whenever I'm going through something with my disability, anytime I'm going through something with my disability, like right now, my strength has not been the greatest. And I was hoping, because I just recently had my injection, it's already been a month, I was hoping I would see an improvement. However, I'm still being optimistic simply because as I'm making these videos, it's the beginning of January. So this is like the busiest time of the year. So a lot of stuff is kind of going on. So I'm not really sleeping as much. I mean, I'm sleeping, but I'm not sleeping as much as I would like. Again, because there's a lot of things going on. So I'm being optimistic that maybe this is playing a factor. And I am hoping that this is the reason why I am feeling the way that I am feeling with my disability. Excuse me. But again, back to my disability. Because of my past experiences, I know that I had felt like this before. Actually, even a lot worse than this before. So by me reflecting off my past experience, and when it comes to, in this context with my disability, that how I feel now, if I was able to get stronger, see improvement over time when I felt worse from my past experience, that keeps me optimistic to, like, hey Vic, like, this is temporary. How you're feeling is temporary. Like, I'm struggling brushing my teeth right now, struggling feeding myself. Chewing is becoming a very challenging experience at the moment. Again, I'm being optimistic. The purpose of this video is how to find peace in uncertain times. The value I hope I can bring across to you is that everything is temporary. Every single thing that you may be going through. Again, the good, to say the least, the good, the bad, and the ugly, or excuse me, the bad times of your life. The best way to overcome it is to reflect off of your past. You had once gone through things in your past that you may have doubted that you weren't capable of overcoming, or that things wouldn't ever get better, or that things could never change. And what happened? They did change. Things did get better. Now, sure, things may not be 100% the greatest, right? But the purpose that I'm trying to say here, and I hope I can get across here, is that you had gone through things in the past that you had once thought that you couldn't get through, and you did. You had once thought that things would never get better, and they did. So I want you to know that whatever it is that you are going through right now, things can get better. And I use the word can because the only thing that separates you from where you are to where it is you are not, you have to put in your effort. You have to do your part to help you get through whatever it is you are going through. I just recently came up with a saying that goes along the lines of, it was the slightest possibility that tomorrow, next week, next month, next year would get better that got me through a lot of things. The reason being is because when you are in a mental state where you can't see a way out, where nothing is going to ever get better, things aren't ever going to change. when you are in that mental state, it is really, really hard to find a way, seeing yourself getting through whatever it is you are going through. When you're in that mental state where you are is where you always will be, how you feel is always going to be how you are always going to feel. Again, nothing can get better. When you're in that mental state, it is really, really hard to crawl yourself out of and get through what you are going through. For me, it was the slightest possibility that tomorrow, next week, next month, again, even next year, that got me through the worst of things. The reason being is because I not only had hope that tomorrow would be better. It's not like me saying, oh, tomorrow's going to be better, and then next week's going to be better. Oh, you know what, next week's not better, but maybe next month is going to be better. Next year. No. I had to find a way. I had to put in the effort to help me keep wanting to reach for another tomorrow, another tomorrow, another tomorrow. I needed something that was going to help drive me closer to my tomorrows, to my next weeks, to my next months, to my next years. And for me, it was my website. I was going through in January 2020, I went through a very dark depression, very scary time within my life. It was very, very hard for me to get through that experience. That was a journey within itself. I genuinely didn't. Me reflecting off that experience, it's to me it would be some form of a miracle, because I was lost, like completely lost, and it was scary. And the thing that helped me continue to drive, the thing that was my vehicle to wanting to keep seeing another tomorrow, next week, and next month, next year, which ultimately 3 years later, we're now in 2023. It ultimately brought me to where I am, along, of course, of other things, right? But in this context of the video, is that it was me talking to a very dear friend that gave me the inspiration to say, hey Vic, while I was going through a very hard time, he reached out to me. He heard about what I was going through, reached out to me, talked to me. We were on the phone for a while. And he says, why don't you turn this negative experience into a positive? Like, what's the positive here? And again, when you're in that mental state, then nothing can ever get better. Things are always going to be the way they are. It's really, really hard to see a light through the end of the tunnel, right? At the end of the tunnel, to say the least, right? Again, a dear friend reached out to me and said, hey, why don't you turn this negative experience into a positive? And we started talking, and I'm just listening. And he says, why don't you build a website? Like, you have a story to tell. Anyhow, talked for a while. He kept checking up on me, and I'm fortunate for that. Anyhow, my drive, my vehicle was my website. It was me wanting to help people get through what I was going through. I wanted to utilize my past, my experiences, my struggles, my pain, my life's teachings to ultimately help someone else. Because I know that if I was going through this, if I was feeling like this, I know that someone else out there is going through something, either the same thing or a very similar experience. And if I can not only have just experience a similar experience with someone, but if I can ultimately share what I know, what helped me get through what I was going through, I can only imagine the value I can possibly provide to help you get through whatever it is you are going through. Again, whether it's you can relate to me, or you can we share a very similar experience. Hey, that guy, he went through ... I am going through ... It might not be the same thing, but you know what? It's very similar. And I'm going to. He knows something that I don't, right? How can I get through whatever it is that I'm going through? Those are questions that we have to ask ourselves. How can I get through whatever it is that I'm going through? When I was going through, again, a very challenging period within my life, I genuinely didn't. Me being here today, like 3 years later, because again, we're in 2023, to me, it's a form of a miracle. Because to get through what I was going through has been a journey within itself. It hasn't been easy. A lot of effort, a lot of inner work that I had to work on in here and get right. A lot of learning, a lot of reflection, a lot of me studying the people who overcame very similar experiences of mine. Something I can, people that has gone through certain things and overcame them. How did they do it? Because if they were able to go from where they are to getting them to, if they were able to go from where they were to where they are, that was huge to me. And again, my website was my vehicle.